Hey, it's Armand with Attract. At Attract Advisors, we offer accounting advisory, tax advisory, as well as financial management services. We're lucky enough to work with very many hardworking, talented entrepreneurs across many different industries. Many of these individuals are world-class in their sphere and have great stories to tell. This is our way of highlighting their accomplishments and their insights, and we hope you enjoy these conversations. Hey, it's Armand with Attract, and today we are talking with my man Collis Temple. Really excited to have Collis on the podcast today. Looking forward to his insight. Collis, thanks for being here.
No, thanks for having me, man. This is exciting. I'm excited about the partnership that we're going to build, but I'm also excited about whatever you're about to ask me.
Yeah, indeed. Well, so we'll jump right in. So give us a quick intro, starting all the way back to childhood and considering your background. I got to hear about the sports story as well.
Yeah. So born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Went to University High School. UI from actually first grade all the way to 12th grade. Want to follow my dad's footsteps. I probably was LSU's youngest ball boy and their oldest ball boy. I was a ball boy when a guy named, his name then was Chris Jackson. Now he's Mahmoud Abdul Rauf was breaking freshman records. And then a couple of years later, Shaquille O'Neal came. I was a ball boy then in the 3rd and 4th grade. And I was probably still a ball boy like in the 8th grade when I was like, okay, I don't need to do this anymore. But I followed in my dad's footsteps. He was the first African American to play ball there. I wanted to go to LSU, went to LSU, took advantage of being on scholarship. Got an undergrad degree in business, went through finance and economics, got a master's degree, was actually working on a PhD in education, all while I was still eligible playing basketball. Part of that is due to injuries, and part of that because I went relatively quickly through school. And then got picked up to play pro ball with the Detroit Pistons in 2003 when my eligibility was up, and promptly tore up the ankle that I already had surgery on my junior year at LSU. So my pro career ended a little bit quicker than I expected it to, but had a great college career. I learned a lot, grew as a person a lot, and it really kind of helped set me up for what ended up happening kind of after that.
Right. So being Collis Temple, I know that probably opened some doors, but I know that also probably could have been a cross to bear at times.
Mm-hmm.
So talk about following in your dad's footsteps and how you think about that.
Well, you know what? That's a question that I've been asked often over the last, probably 27, 28 years since I was about 17, 18. And I really never looked at it as anything other than a great opportunity. I never looked at it as a burden. I never looked at it as something challenging. I looked at it as, okay, I was blessed to have had somebody who came before me and not only opened the door for me, but opened the door for a lot of people. And in him doing so, there's insight and there's information, there's advice that he can give me that I won't have to deal with some of the same challenges. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
And so I always looked at it as a great opportunity. And I'm the third. My son is the fourth.
Right.
But I always looked at it as a great opportunity. My dad is he's a special guy. He's been an impact player. He's 72 now, so he's been a major impact player for well over 55 years in his life. He got to LSU at 17 years old. So it was it's an opportunity. That's the way I've always looked at it, on.
Yeah, I like that. So then talk to me about that transition between the sports world, the injury, and then jumping into back into business or into business.
Yeah, you mentioned the name and doors that were open. Actually, when I got hurt, I jumped in with Primerica Financial Services, and clearly a name can get you so far, but it's about skill.
Yep.
It's about effort. It's about the energy that you put into it. And I was able to get my own agency based on production. after about inside of 12 months. So I was 24 when I got started. I got my own agency, right when I turned 25 years old, and ended up building that company to where we have over 500 licensed people and 16 offices all over the southeastern part of the United States, and that's in the insurance, investments, and securities, retirement accounts, all that mortgages, all of that type of stuff. And so we manage, we oversee tens of thousands of clients with that agency, with that company. But I learned that the same things that help me be successful as a student, as an athlete, helped me be successful as a business person. I always, when I was growing up, I wanted to be I used to draw pictures of myself in a basketball game and then leaving the game with a suit on in a briefcase. I don't know what I was going to do, right? But I remember doing that when I was 8 and 9 years old, right? And so to be able to transition, I just knew that I wanted to be great at whatever it was I was doing. I was one of those guys that had to be kind of tamped down. Like I was overworking myself. You know, um, I'm proud of that. I mean, my body took a beating for it, right? But I'm proud because when you transition out of the athletic realm, right, those same things are significant benefits, right? Your ability to stay focused, to be coachable and be able to learn and wanting to grow and wanting to find out, wanting to figure out and become a better version of yourself, right? And then the work ethic, coachability, focus, work ethic, those three things that help me be successful in anything I've been successful at, it's been due to those three things. And so, um, you know, when I made that transition, I knew, okay, uh, I had a tearing up my surgical repair right ankle. So I'm like, okay, if you can't move laterally, you're going to have a tough time being successful as an athlete, especially in basketball. Tough thing to come into when from 6 years old, you wanted to be an NBA basketball player. But came to that realization and then immediately pivoted and said, okay, well, oh man, this guy's doing very well. I was recruited into the business. The thing that was really intriguing was that I could have my own agency. And I just literally took the level of focus, that tunnel vision that I had on going to the NBA and shifted it and was able to, create a new career that I was extremely excited about, jumped out of bed every day, but also where I was able to make an impact and be a difference maker.
Yeah. So talk about the jump into EP Breaux, the EP Breaux acquisition, being CEO of that company.
Yeah. So you have mentors. You got folks that you follow, that you associate with, that you want to aspire to be like in some capacity. Jim Bernhardt was a friend of my dad's. Both my parents, successful entrepreneurs, and they kind of laid a foundation for me. But you always have mentors and different people, and so Jim Bernhardt was somebody who I just had a relationship with, primarily because I met him through my dad, right? And he would make suggestions periodically when we would be around each other. And I'm not talking about, this is not often, maybe once a quarter we talk. But he presented me with an opportunity. I actually approached him, attempting to get him to become a client of mine on the investment side. And this was probably in 2017, after 3 or 4 years after he had already started Bernard Capital Partners, he and Jeff Jenkins. And he said, you don't really know what I do, right? And I said, I don't know exactly what it is, but he said, well, I invest people's money, right? And this is what it is. And then he explained it to me, and I said, okay, wow. Yeah, so I guess that you're not gonna give me money. Okay, so that's fine. Right, but and he said, well, you need to consider, and I was very excited and happy with where I was. But I said, but if there's ever a partnership opportunity, give me a call. Right? And I didn't really think he would give me a call, right? Why would he? Worth what he's worth and all of that, right? But in 2021, man, in January of 2020, Armand, he gives me a call. He says, I got something for us. I got something for you. You need to come meet me. And he presented me with the opportunity to buy a majority share of what was going to be a cutout of an already existing company. So EP Breaux Electrical was started in 1945 by Ernest P. Breaux in New Iberia, Louisiana, electrical contracting company. And it grew into this company with multiple divisions, one of those divisions being their utility division.
Mm-hmm.
And so in 2014, EP Breaux Electrical was one of the first acquisitions of Bernhard Capital Partners when they formed their private equity firm. In March of 2021, we cut out the utility division of EP Breaux Electrical, formed it into its own entity. I bought a majority share of the company, became CEO and president of the company. We brought 34 employees into that company from the kind of already existing. And then we ran it up. We're right now at almost 90 employees. So that was March of 21. The guys came over in June of 21. So that's 22, 23, 24. Third full year. And it was doing about 8 to 10 million as a division.
Mm-hmm.
And now we'll probably do closing in on 30 billion this year, with a very realistic chance to be at well over 40 million next year. So it's extremely exciting. It's in the utility division. We build substations.
Mm-hmm.
We do underground distribution work, high voltage cable installation, and it's something that I never would have thought I would have ever been in, right? But when you're open and your opportunities come and you seize them.
So it sounds like you guys have had great growth since the start of the company. So
Yeah.
where are we going? What's the future for EP Breaux?
If you asked me when we started the company, and once I kind of understood what it was that I owned, I'd probably tell you a $250 million company, $250 million company. I still have the aspiration to do that. Clearly, once you know a little bit more about it, you're a little bit more, close to the chest in terms of where you see things going, right? But I absolutely, Armand, I see us becoming before 2030 a 100 million plus company. Absolutely, there's no doubt in my mind that will happen. Moving towards being a $200 million company. And I'm just excited about the opportunity, man. It almost is unlimited what exists in this industry, and the how necessary it is.
Right.
When you think about everything from an electrical perspective, you got to have a substation,
Right.
right? And that's not talking about electric cars and electrification of the just making everything more electrified. But everything needs a substation. Even if we go with solar, you got to have a substation.
Right.
Even if we go, so any type of energy, they need what we do.
Right.
Right. And so it really is unlimited. Right now we're licensed in the Southeast, but we can't get to everything there. So I'm extremely excited about it if you can't hear it in my voice.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, all right. 2 questions we like to ask everybody. So what is the best and worst career or personal advice you've ever got?
Well, I'm going to go with personal.
Okay.
And I'm going to actually tell you one from my mom and one from my dad. My mom, how you do anything is how you do everything.
Oh,
How
wow.
you do anything is how you do everything. So early on, I was clearly locked in a lot to basketball, but she helped me expand and understand, look, from an academic perspective, if you do not go at the highest level you can go at in this, that's going to bleed over to every other area of your life. So whatever you do, you got to be the best you at it. You might not be the best at it, but you have to be the best version of you at it, right? So
I
that
love
was my
that.
mom. And
Love
then my
that.
dad, you can't get ahead staying in the bed. Can't get ahead staying in the bed. You got to get up and got to go to work. Somebody outworks you. It might be hidden for a while, but once they get in front of you and once there's a competitive situation, it will be found out. So and nothing's given. You got to earn everything you get. But this was stuff that was put in my head in elementary school. So it was kind of, fortunately for me, how I was raised to operate and think, obviously as a young adult and as an adult.
I love it. So no bad advice then, huh?
Nah, bad decisions, plenty, right? Right, bad business decisions, plenty, right? But fortunately, no bad advice. Fortunately,
Okay. I like it. Well, all right. So to round it all the way back to accounting, since we are, after all, an accounting firm,
yeah.
talk a little bit about your view on y'all's operational accounting and how you view that and how you use that to run your business.
It's only everything, right?
Right.
At the end of the day, the bottom line is the bottom line. And so the way that I'm finding out about the bottom, I was never extremely excited about math, right? I was never extremely excited at all about accounting. I remember that at LSU, right? But, as the CEO, you understanding all of these reports, really digging in and really understanding the numbers and knowing, how you even tweak this and this changes it's fascinating to me. It's exciting, especially I guess it's exciting to me because we're growing, right? But I can just say in interacting with you, your approach and the way that you communicate about it is really probably unlike anyone that I've come in contact with as it relates to this. Now, it's not like I'm got a whole list of folks that I've dealt with from an accounting perspective,
Sure.
but the way you approach it and the way you communicate about it is you make it more exciting than I would have ever thought that it was, other than the numbers, right?
Right.
So, but it's everything, and
Right.
I've become a very involved, very engaged. Obviously, as CEO, you better be.
Right.
But it's been extremely helpful.
Right. Well, I appreciate the kind words, appreciate the energy, and you telling the story. And I love that advice. I'm definitely going to write that down.
Here you go.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, thank you so much for
Appreciate
coming
the
in and talking.
opportunity. Thanks
Appreciate
for having me.
All right, man. Thanks. See you on the next one.